It starts out as Friday Night Lights, turns into college football Saturday, and culminates into NFL Sundays. These players have made the journey. They put in the time, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, and they've made it to the National Football League. And today is the first football Sunday of the 2023 campaign. Are you ready? Alright guys, Back in the Box Productions is here with the first official episode of the OMC show. And I am Mike, the original MC. And I am thrilled to be here to talk Week 1, both NFL football, but more importantly, we're going to touch on the Hop Week 1 matchups for today. So settle in, enjoy the show. Let's do this. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go right to the Week 1 matchups. Now, a couple things about this little analysis we're doing. First of all, we know the Thursday games have actually been played, and so there's some scores on the board already. What I'm going to do is I'll touch on, a little bit about what's happened. Because they're here, I'll talk to you about what the ESPN projections look like, and then I will jump into what the matchup looks like right now, keeping in mind that as of this recording, there's still plenty of time for people to make adjustments to their roster. So we'll do the best we can, and but just to give you a little idea of what to expect for the week. So we'll go ahead and start with my matchup with Rick, and let's go ahead and open up the matchup here now. As we know, on Thursday, Rick had Harrison Butker going, the kicker for Kansas City, who put up a decent kicker size total of 8 points, and so I'm currently down 8-0. And since that game was played, I've had a little bit of news. It looks like my top end tight end, Mark Andrews, is likely to not play today, and so I've already made the proactive move and swapped him out for Isaiah Likely. Because I think that he's actually probably one of the few actually tight end handcuffs in the league on what really should be a high-powered offense. They have a weak game today, or lesser competition in terms of the Houston Texans. So I feel fairly comfortable rolling Likely out there. Let's give Andrews another week to get healthy so he can be out there for stiffer competition. But while I'm on that, doesn't it seem like every tight end in the league is hurt right now? Every single one of them's got a questionable tag. You already had Kelsey miss the game. You're going to have Andrews miss the game. They're by far the top two. Darren Waller popped up with a questionable tag. George Kittle popped up with a questionable tag. And what that tells me is that if any of these top guys, don't come back, we're looking, maybe for a new top dog at the tight end spot. Who's it going to be? So, I have a couple of names in mind, but see, I can't use this show and spill all my secrets. But I got a couple of people that I have my eye on that really could make some noise this season. But at this early stage of the game, I personally feel you have to go a little more with the known commodity as opposed to the roll of the dice. So anyway, looking at this matchup, this factoring in the Thursday night stuff that's already happened, ESPN still has me as a bit of a heavy favorite, 158 to 142. Again, take those for what it's worth. All right. Rick has so on Rick's side, Dak Prescott going Sunday night versus the Giants. Derrick Henry, and then he has an interesting Pittsburgh stack. He's got Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson. They are playing the 49ers, who are considered an excellent defense. That being said, both of these are prime players. And I already mentioned Deontay Johnson. I'm looking for positive touchdown regression this year. Guy I think was like 5th in the league in targets last year, and including red zone targets and no touchdowns. That can't continue again. Will it happen this week? Who knows? But certainly throughout the year, I think he's going to be a good player. Chris Godwin with the new quarterback in town in Tampa. Evan Engram at the tight end spot. I look for huge things from Jacksonville, so that's a player that I have, my eye on, could be potentially dangerous. Cortland Sutton, Denver, new coach, new attitude. Should be interesting to see what happens. I've previously been a fan of Cortland Sutton. Russell Wilson was abysmal last year, but I think a lot of people think that he's up for a resurgence, so we'll see what happens. Pittsburgh defense taking on San Francisco, and this is an interesting time for San Francisco because remember Brock Purdy came out of nowhere last year, which means no one had prepared for him. I've had this conversation with a number of people in the last several weeks. My thing as a 49er fan, my thing with Brock Purdy is I'm a little concerned, right? He comes into the league, nobody knows who he is, he takes the world by storm, and he handled it well. But is he going to be able to handle NFL defenses that have now learned to adjust to him, especially coming off a fairly severe injury last year? Should be interesting, but he's got a lot of weapons behind him. So we'll see what the Steelers D can do against the Niners today. And then, of course, Dolphins coach versus the Chargers. On my side of the ledger, I have Josh Allen going. Now, Josh Allen on a Monday night might make you real happy. I'm nervous, right? Josh Allen's playing the Jets this week. And what I know about last year, just from the eye test, is that he didn't play all that well against the Jets. The Jets are a top-flight defense with two amazing corners. And this is in New Jersey, right, at the Jets' home, all excited about Aaron Rodgers and everything else. This might be a tougher game, but I hope that that's offset with a little bit of the Monday Night Magic primetime players. Let's see what happens. Tony Pollard, I'm very high on. My bold prediction for the year is I think Tony Pollard, if he stays healthy, could end up as RB1 on the season over all others. That's my honest opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Kenneth Walker wrote a questionable tag all week, but he's back healthy. Let's see if he can capture some of the magic that he had last year when he came off the bench and everybody was salivating at the way how he ran. Tyreek Hill, not much you can say there. Looking at hoping that he takes the top off of a Chargers defense, hoping that the Miami Chargers game is going to be a bit high scoring. Mike Williams seems to be a mainstay on my team. In that same game, I'm hoping for a shootout. Chargers versus Miami. I already mentioned about Isaiah Likely. I have Stevenson as a flex at the moment. Picked up a questionable tag on Friday, but after doing some research, it turns out it was an injury, and he sat in on some meetings Saturday, so all indications are that he will be a go. Tyler Lockett, once again, Seattle Rams. I'm hoping that it's they take the cover off of it. Geno Smith gets some of that magic back from last year. Maybe Tyler Lockett can make some magic this year. Ravens versus Houston, that's a tasty matchup, boy. I love the Ravens defense this year. They were number one on my board. Tyler Bass is the kicker on Monday night. You know what? If Josh Allen falters, maybe Bass picks up the slack and gives me a couple of field goals in prime time. And then Eagles coach versus the Patriots. So all in all, I feel pretty good about my side of the matchup. Rick's definitely got some players to look out for. Should be a good matchup. We'll see. Week one really is a little difficult to predict. We're going off of things we saw last year, so let's see what happens. Moving on, next matchup. More on Morris Vikings taking on the other MC, Michael Carabin, the Brooklyn Baller. I love you, other MC. You are by far my favorite team to watch in the league. I love the way you manage it, and more importantly than that, I love the way you defend it. Don't ever lose that, and don't get worried about me busting your balls. It's all in good fun. So, in looking at this matchup, now we have, on the Brooklyn Baller side, we had some Thursday activity. We had Patrick Mahomes putting up a 23 spot, but he was let down by Sky Moore in the flex spot, who put up 0 points in a really disappointing game for him. What this did to the overall projections, for what they're worth, is it made Moore a pretty heavy favorite. So right now he's projected to win by 13 points. He still has all his horses going. Let's start on the other MC side. Quarterback's already in the clubhouse with a 23 spot. Bijan Robinson, the veritable unknown. Very rare to see a guy come out of college and instantly be considered as one of the top running backs in football. Should be interesting to see what he does in Atlanta versus a Carolina team today that has a little bit of a better defense, but it looks like the offense may well flow through Bijan. Aaron Jones. So here's the deal in Green Bay, right? They have a bunch of banged up receivers. You got Jordan Love going in for his first start. All signs seem to point to being sort of run heavy, so Aaron Jones could get some play today. T. Higgins versus Cleveland. Look, you got a professional in Joe Burrow throwing at you, so T. Higgins is always, potentially dangerous. DJ Moore, every time I see his name, all I can see is that play in the preseason where he took a little hitch out to the left and he took it all the way down the field. Justin Fields is an exciting quarterback. DJ Moore gets to play with him in Chicago now. Sky's the limit for DJ Moore. I'm a fan, and we'll see what happens. Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. Again, Atlanta's not considered a high-powered offense. Everyone thinks it's going to run through Bijan. What's Kyle Pitts going to do? Guy's a supreme athlete, but he was seriously let everybody down last year. But we'll see what happens. Elijah Moore in Cleveland. He's been touted as a sneaky sleeper throughout the season because everyone expects Cleveland to be better. People were sort of left with the residue of what Deshaun Watson did at the end of last year, but Deshaun Watson's a professional quarterback. And so I think that Elijah Moore has potential to be really, really good over there. Jets defense versus Buffalo. Look, Jets defense is excellent, and they're a team that you would play regardless, but you want a better matchup for your defense. Buffalo is still a high-powered offense. Primetime Monday night should be interesting. Justin Tucker, the 8th-round man, best kicker in the game. I don't have anything to say. Guys, a danger at any length field goal, and there's potential for big points with him. There's no lie. Bengals coach versus Cleveland. See who wins that game. On Morrow's side of the equation, we have the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack, one of the more coveted stacks in the league. Philadelphia has some other weapons, though, so we'll see what A.J. Brown does. But Jalen Hurts is, again, one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the game. And they're playing a New England team. I don't know, you be the judge. Has Belichick lost any of his magic? Belichick has that sort of knack of being able to game plan and prepare for the incoming competition and play to their strengths. But Philadelphia is such a talented team. They sort of have playmakers everywhere. Can he bottle up Jalen Hurts and or A.J. Brown? Alexander Mattison. Morrow is a diehard Minnesota Viking fan, and he gets to roll out the new starting running back for Minnesota. Madison has always showed flashes of brilliance in his career so far, as evidenced by the fact that he's always been the number one handcuff for this team, and he gets to roll out on his own as the man this particular week versus Tampa Bay. Cam Akers versus Seattle. Has anyone had a stranger trajectory than Cam Akers? Last year, the guy was all but cut. We all thought he was going to get cut. He got suspended. He was away from the team. And then he came back in the last 4 weeks of the season. He was like a top 8 running back. They don't have much else there. Cooper Kupp is out. It should be interesting, but I think the offense may flow through him. So let's see what he does versus Seattle today. Deebo Samuel, right? The Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades with San Francisco. He's healthy, and you got the mad genius with Shanahan over there in San Francisco. It should be interesting to see what Deebo can do. Guy's a threat every time he touches it. Gerald Everett at tight end. Morrow took a hit with losing Kelsey for the first week. He has backed him up with Everett in what could be a high-scoring game. I think that was a decent replacement. DeAndre Hopkins has some new digs in Tennessee. He's got Mr. Tannehill throwing to him. Should be interesting to see how he does. He's aging. He's on the wrong side of 30, but he was great last year when he came back. So look forward to seeing what he does with lining up with some other professional receivers out in Tennessee. The names are escaping me at the moment. J.K. Dobbins, let me tell you something. If this guy is healthy on that Baltimore offense, he can be a very, very dangerous player. So looks good. Look forward to see what he does. Bills D versus a jacked up Jets offense on Monday night. I don't really have a feel for it. It's a primetime game. Jets are amped up. I think they're going to be playing with some extra juice. They got Aaron Rodgers in the building. Should be a really great game. Actually, really, I'm looking forward to it probably more than any other game this week. Maybe except for Dallas and the Giants Sunday night. Jake Elliott, kicker for Philadelphia, and you got 49ers coach going. This should be a good game. Some really, really good players to look out for. Let's move on. Southpaw, Craig Roloff, Rick Penner, Polar Bears. Some Thursday night action. Craig Roloff had 19 points from first round. Darling, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Love that guy as long as he stays healthy. On the Polar Bear side, Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 points. A little underwhelming, but let me tell you something. That Jahmyr Gibbs, he's the top running back in Detroit. Every time the guy touched the ball, you sat up in your seat a little bit to see what he was going to do. The guy is dangerous, and when he learns how to play in the NFL, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a top flight running back Really, really like him, but he didn't do it for you this week, Rick. So the current score stands at 19-7. ESPN predictions have Craig now with the new scores intact as a pretty heavy favorite, almost, I think it's 18 points. And so let's take a look and see what the matchups look like. On Craig's side, we have Justin Herbert. It's within the range of possibilities that Herbert ends up as the number one quarterback this year. The guy is phenomenal. He's got a good offense around him, and he plays in a division where you have some high-powered teams. James Cook, you have with Buffalo. He's going to get his shot to be the number one guy, and he's another one. He's very electric when he touches the ball. I don't know why he didn't get more love this year, but should be interesting. They have a lot of mouths to feed in Buffalo. Raheem Mostert, the benefit of a Jeff Wilson injury, and I don't know if this is true as of the time of this recording, I heard that Akane is going to be inactive today, which means it's Mostert's job start to finish at least until next week. Playing a Chargers team. Mostert is, I believe he averages more than 5 yards a carry for his career. Problem is he can't stay healthy, so he's not going to play a full season, but when he's in there, he's very effective. Double J, Justin Jefferson. I don't have any more to say. The guy's an absolute phenom. I'd be surprised if he doesn't put up 20 points every single game he plays. Tampa Bay today. Dallas Goedert, tight end. One of my faves from last year. Again, a solid Philly offense. In a league where tight ends are tricky, Goddard's a good one to have. CeeDee Lamb, Dallas, playing primetime Sunday night. CeeDee Lamb is one of those guys that every draft that I did this year, he was available for me, and I stayed away from him in all of them. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the guy's name is Lamb. It's not a very tough name. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm down on the passing game in Dallas this year. Should be interesting to see what he does. I'm predicting bust. Calvin Ridley is a guy that I have been talking about for 2 years. When he got traded to Jacksonville, I said last year that I thought Jacksonville was a Super Bowl contender this year. You have Lawrence coming in and being a professional quarterback. You have Calvin Ridley, who is a phenom, who missed all of last year, and people forgot about him. The guy is a talent. He's fresh, and like him or hate him for the whole gambling thing, the guy's a super stud receiver in an emerging offense. Look out for him. Cowboys defense versus Giants on a primetime game. Giants with the new Daniel Jones has his new contract. They're going to be amped up. It's a division game. Should be interesting to see what happens. Evan McPherson, Cincinnati, Commanders coach, probably the biggest lock on the board because Arizona is tanking this year. On the Polar Bears side, Justin Fields, I previously said, is one of the most exciting players in the game. If he can stay healthy, he's one to watch. The guy can run for 100 yards, any given game. Austin Eckler, top running back in most cases selected this year. He's a PPR dream. Doesn't do a lot of rushing yards, but he catches the ball out of the backfield, and a very dangerous player on a high-powered offense. Gibbs, we touched on. Devontae Adams. I'm very curious to see what happens with Adams this year. As you guys know, I'm a Niners fan, and Garoppolo is now in town. I don't know. I don't know how Garoppolo and Adams are going to jive, but put it this way. I didn't think that when he left Aaron Rodgers and went to Derek Carr, even though they're best friends, that it was going to work out. And every time I saw Adams, the guy was catching, 15 balls. So he's just a really good player. He knows how to get open. But will Jimmy G be an upgrade or a downgrade from Carr? I say downgrade. Amari Cooper in Cleveland. So let's see. They are playing in Cleveland, which means he'll probably have a great game. Because Amari Cooper, as we know, on the road, you can't play him. When he's home, he's money. Pat Freiermuth had a great year last year for Pittsburgh, and I expect him to take a step up again this year. This is a San Francisco team that's very tough, however. DeAndre Swift, he's expected to lead a three-headed running back in Philadelphia committee in Philadelphia, but I believe he's the guy that's going to get the most run out of the gate. How much will it be? We'll see. Marvin Mims. I want to see Marvin Mims do well because he's a guy that nobody drafted. He was picked up later. Savvy move by Rick. I did have my eye on him. But he's a name that people are going to start to get to know, I think. You have some injury concerns, especially with Jerry Jeudy out in Denver. Marvin Mims could be a name to watch. Should be interesting to see how he and Russell Wilson connect. Commanders defense, they might put up 40 points against Arizona today. Kicker for Atlanta, Jaguars coach, and should be a pretty good matchup. 2 more to go as it pours here in New Jersey. I don't care. It's Sunday football, baby. All right, Polish Powers and Errol, our chop Matt. So here's where we're at. We have no Thursday action to speak of, so right now ESPN projections have this as a 1-point matchup. Let's take a look at it. Let me start on Errol's side with the Polish Powers. We have Tua Tagovailoa. He's healthy, he's upright, and as of this recording, he has had 0 concussions this NFL season. Very likely to change. Saquon Barkley, primetime Sunday night. I love Barkley this year. He's got his money for the year, and guess what, guys? He got a 1-year deal, which means he's playing for a contract. Those are the players you want. Will he do well against Dallas? Remains to be seen. Travis Etienne Jr. I think Travis Etienne is looking over his shoulder right now. And I think that he wants to prove that he can be the man. When he's in there, he's very effective. But he's had some injuries. Garrett Wilson, there are people that are saying that he might be the number 1 receiver this year in football. I think that's an overstatement, but I do think that he's a wonderful receiver and he'll be good. Keenan Allen, top man in Chargers land with Herbert throwing to him. Again, as of this recording, he has not torn his hamstring yet. So this week he's a good play. TJ Hawkinson got paid. Now, typically when a player gets paid, one of a couple things can happen. Either he rests on his laurels and he dips a little bit, or he's hungry because he's rich and he's got nothing to lose. So TJ Hawkinson's a talented dude. He's played really well in Minnesota in the short time he's been there. They play Tampa today. Look for big things. Scary Terry McLaurin, I'm scared. The guy's got turf toe. But he's going to play today. Will he play the whole game? You always have to look and see, will the injury creep up? Turf toe's a tricky one. Odell Beckham Jr., my least favorite player in the NFL. Can't stand the guy. I believe as of this recording, though, if I have one positive thing to say, as of this recording, Odell Beckham has not cried to anybody yet. So maybe he has a good game today. Baltimore should be a high-powered offense, but I don't think OBJ is going to be at the top of that list. Just my personal opinion. Bears versus, what we got? Green Bay today. So Jordan Love's a little bit of an unknown. We did get to see him last year a little bit. Remains to be seen how the Bears play in a tasty defensive matchup. Jason Myers, Vikings coach. On Matt's side, Lamar Jackson. Once again, in the range of possibilities that Lamar Jackson becomes the number 1 quarterback this year. If he stays healthy, I really like Baltimore's offense this year. And the man can run. Nick Chubb, best pure running back in football. That is my belief. Doesn't catch a lot of balls, but the guy's a bowling ball. Tough to bring down. And he's the only game in town in Cleveland as running backs go. James Conner on a bad Arizona team. I don't really know what to expect from them, but Conner's a professional player. Stephon Diggs, this is a tough one for Matt because he's a big Jets fan, and they play the Jets Monday night. But as I know my brother's opinions on this, he's a Jets fan first. So if Diggs puts up a bagel this week, he'll actually be happy. DK Metcalf, physical phenom out of Seattle. Should be interesting to see if Geno can recap on the Magic last year. DK is a professional receiver, though. Cole Kmet, this was probably the one player that I looked at and I questioned because I thought there were better options out there, talking about the draft. I'm not a Kmet fan. We'll see what happens. Chris Olave, within a few years, Chris Olave might be a top 2 or 3 receiver in this league. He's seriously talented. I just don't know. It's hard to see how you're going to gel with a new quarterback in Derek Carr this year. Mike Pittman Jr., again, new quarterback and a rookie quarterback and presumably a running quarterback. But I'm a Pittman fan. He's a professional possession receiver. He may not put up big points, but what you want is steady receptions from him, and I think he'll get it. And today they play Jacksonville. It could be a high-scoring game. Saints defense versus Tennessee. Greg the Leg on the Jets side versus Buffalo on Monday night. And you got Ravens coach versus Houston. This should be a really, really good matchup. And last but not least, let's wrap it up with my brother from another mother, Chosen Ones, Chris Bernard, taking on Miyamachi, best pizza in Florida, and Vinny, formerly Big Sexy Grande. So right now we have a -3-0 score. I like that, because the only Thursday night action we had was Chiefs coach, and as we know, Chiefs lost to the Lions in a 21-20 thriller on Thursday night. So let's start on Vinny's side. Trevor Lawrence. I love Jacksonville this year. I love this quarterback. I think he has a shot to be really, really good. CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Now, let me real talk with you for 1 second. I'm a Niners fan. I want to see CMC be awesome. The reason I stayed away from him this year, and I told Vinny this, is because he has a history of having a great year and then being run down. Great year, run down. The one reason why that may not happen this year, though, is that remember the usage of Elijah Mitchell in San Francisco, and that's how Shanahan kind of liked to use them. CMC is no doubt leading the pack over there, and he's still going to be a top-flight receiver. And if you see him as your opponent in the fantasy season, you're not happy. But should be interesting to see how he does coming off a really fantastic year last year. Josh Jacobs, Vinny had him last year. Here's my problem with Jacobs. He was used heavy last year, and he was injured a lot. Typically, running backs that have 300-plus carries on the year come back next year and struggle. Let's see what happens. Jacobs was phenomenal last year. Jalen Waddle, other starting very talented receiver in Miami, maybe the best offense in football. If he can stay healthy, he's able to take the top off anytime. Devonta Smith in Philadelphia, a lot of mouths to feed. But he was probably, it's funny, Waddle and Smith are probably the best 1B to the 1A in football, and he's got them both. So it should be interesting to see what happens. George Kittle, again, has a questionable tag. Currently, he has Christian Watson in the flex. If Vinny sees this video before, that means he's checking, maybe he's checking his lineup. Christian Watson will not play this year, so it should be interesting to see what happens if he swaps somebody out. David Njoku, currently in the flex spot. Tight end in the flex spot is interesting. Should be interesting to see if he actually keeps this lineup moving forward, but that's how he has it currently. Jaguars defense versus Indianapolis. Graham Gano, Giants kicker versus Dallas, and Chiefs coach, as we know, already lost. Chosen Ones. Guys, this one may be subject to change. I had some conversations with Chris this morning, and he's considering making some changes, but as of this recording, here's what we got. We got Cincinnati trio, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, all playing at Cleveland in a tough divisional road matchup. The Burrow-Chase stack is one that I coveted this year, but I knew my draft spot would make that tough. He's got it, and he also has Joe Mixon, who I would never draft Joe Mixon on my team, but that's a personal decision. But where he got drafted, he might represent big value. Rachaad White, I love the guy. I'm not sure how great he's going to be this year, but he's out there starting today. Brandon Ayuk, I've said this before and I stand by it. He might be the top receiver in the game. Not in the game, for the Niners. The best pure receiver. He's not going to be a gadget guy like Debo, but I think he's a really, really good receiver, and if he can keep his head in the game and not get down when things get tough, he could be very, very solid this year if Brock Purdy comes back well. Darren Waller has a questionable tag as of now. Everything that I've seen says that he's likely to play, however. But I know Chris has picked up some reinforcements on the tight end side. Miles Sanders for Carolina versus Atlanta. Miles Sanders has a new scenery. Deontay Foreman played really well as the starting running back after CMC got traded last year. Can Miles Sanders do the same thing? And then rolling with a double Carolina, Jonathan Mingo. Not much is known about him, obviously, on the professional side since he's brandy new. We'll see what they can do versus Atlanta. 49ers defense versus Pitt, one of the top defenses in the league. Las Vegas kicker, Bills coach. And with that, obviously the projections are a little skewed here because currently Vinny has somebody who's listed as out. But, should be a good matchup. And that's what we got for today. So I know this has been kind of a long video. I'm glad you guys hung in there with me. That's your week one preview as I see it. And, guys, football's back, man. Football's back. I couldn't be more excited. And so I'm really, really thrilled to be able to go through this with you. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead. I have some other things to take care of to prepare for week one. I want you guys to go ahead and enjoy week one of the NFL season. We will do a full recap after the week is over. If there's anything you guys want to see, you guys want to talk about, let me know. And if there's anybody that's interested in coming on the show, I would love to have you any time. And on that note, let me end by saying, Back in the Box Productions, bringing you the first OMC show. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm so glad to be talking to you guys. And sky's the limit on where we go from here. Enjoy week one of the NFL, everybody, and be well. Let me take you out with a little NFL. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.